We're here in Shawville, Quebec today on the hunt for the famous Dag Poltergeist farmhouse. 125 years ago, this farmhouse was the home and sighting of one of the strangest poltergeists in Canadian history. For over 3 months, the farmhouse of George Dag and his family was terrorized. And what makes the case very unique was that 16 farmers from the surrounding area at the time gave sworn testimony that they had seen and witnessed the events on the farmhouse, including hear the demonic voice speak. Now, we've come here today to talk to a few locals to get to the heart of this mystery and also to get to the heart of where this farmhouse is, which is located about 7 miles outside of the city. Our first stop was Shawville's Pontiac Archives to visit local historian and author Venetia Crawford about the factors that turned this case into such a local legend. The archives have a large file on the Dag haunting, and Crawford spoke about the ghost's unique personality and abilities, which included taking on different voices and different forms.
This ghost is unique because she's the only ghost that we know that actually talks to people, and talks in many voices, sometimes as a man and sometimes as a woman, sometimes as an angel, sometimes as a, if I'm looking at this picture, it looks like a cow. Got horns and feet of a cow. I guess he's supposed to be the devil.
Our second stop was nearby Coronation Hall Cider Mills in Bristol, where we interviewed amateur historian and playwright Greg Graham. He wrote and produced a play on the Dag spirit in 2010, and he described the terrifying events that took place on the farm so long ago.
And well, Susan Dag was known to be a very fastidious woman, very clean. She kept a clean home, and she stepped out of the home for just a moment, and then when she came back in, there was filth from the outhouse spread across the kitchen, on the floors, in the cupboards, even inside some of the food containers. They were very, very upset about this and trying to figure out who had done this horrible prank on them. And then things sort of escalated from there. They had money start disappearing, and they blamed Dean the chore boy and even sent him off to be charged. But they noticed even after he disappeared, problems still happened. They would find the money half burnt in the wood stove. Then they started to have paranormal activity. Rocks would be thrown, dishes would come flying off the shelf, books would come flying, tubs of water would get thrown in people's faces. The piano would start playing by itself, the rocking chair would start going, things would start to move. And eventually they noticed that it only seemed to happen whenever Dinah was in the room. It was all sort of centered around Dinah. So Percy Woodcock arrived, and one of the first things he did is he asked Dinah if he could meet the ghost, and she said sure, said he's out in a shed out back. And she took him to a shed behind the house, and she said, "Are you there, mister?" No response. "Are you there, mister?" Finally, on the third time, "Are you there, mister?" And Percy Woodcock was starting to doubt the story, and all of a sudden, heard a deep, gravelly voice, "I am here." And Woodcock was saying, "What? Who is this? Who are you?" And says, "I am the devil, Woodcock, and you get out of this or I'll wring your neck." Armed with the rough location of the house provided by Graham and his father, we were finally ready to hunt down the site of this famous haunting. Good luck. If you end up at Trout Lake, you've gone too far.
Well, and if we don't come back, you'll know you sent us there, right?
That's it. I'll tell the police where to start looking for you anyways.
After a search along some gravelly roads, we finally reached the old white farmhouse where the Dag poltergeist is thought to have played its many tricks. Some Dag family stories talk of a young daughter that may have been born and died under mysterious circumstances some years after the end of the famous haunting.
Like from here, and they would sit in there, and they said they would just kind of see this, like a girl of about, looked to be maybe 3 or 4, and like a white sheet over top of her.
Some rumors blamed her death on the lingering presence of something sinister. According to the current residents, she too may still be clinging to the farmhouse.
We would hear stuff running in the ceiling, and it's like, okay, well, is it a squirrel? Doesn't sound like a squirrel. Is it a mouse? No, it doesn't sound like a mouse, because all of a sudden you'd hear, it just sound like, if it was a mouse, it would sound like it was a mouse Olympics or something going on, because there's so much noise. We're sitting there and they're like, okay, do we really have to rip the ceiling open just to see? And then we're like, if we do rip the ceiling open and we don't see anything, then what are we gonna think, right?
125 years later, is the Dag spirit gone for good, as some people claim? Or are the disturbances described by the current owners a sign that the poltergeist lingers on in some form, perhaps ready to fully return to speak his otherworldly voice again.